Hello, everyone. It's a last minute stream I wanted to do. Obviously the markets have taken a huge, massive dump. Just wanted to go live. I know there's a few people wondering what the hell's going on. Why is this happening? What can we expect tomorrow? We're going to cover what the futures markets look like, the pre-open in the stock market. It's not looking pretty. Also, Bitcoin did go all the way down to 92K. And then this whole tariff thing. Now, I'm no tariff expert, but there are other experts in macroeconomics that understand tariffs better than me or you do, technically, unless you are an expert in tariffs or macroeconomics. And they're kind of breaking down what exactly it means. And then we have some updates from President Trump. What are we going to see tomorrow? And so if you're wondering what's going on in the markets, how long is it going to last, and what to do if you're nervous, if your first cycle, this is going to be a great show for you. So it's kind of a last minute thing I threw together. And so bear with me, guys. We'll get through everything. But as you're seeing on your screen here, Bitcoin 92.9. We did hit a nice short trade for a 55% profit. So those of you that are copy trading us, congrats. We saw a nice gain there. All right. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay, if the audio's coming in, the visual, all that fun stuff. So, all right. Just taking a peek here at the chat really quick. Good evening, guys. What's up, French Toaster, Pakisad, Crypto Greek, Tiger Man. Tiger Man said he's pissed at President Trump. If you guys remember, back in 2018, the markets really took a dump early in the year, kind of intermittently. There was one early in the year. There was one towards like April, May. And then there was that big, massive sell-off around Christmas Eve. And that had to do with tariffs also. We'll take a look at the stock market there and kind of what happened and what can we expect if there's any similarities. Here's one thing I will say, and I'm not going to turn this into a political show, but with everything that he campaigned on and said he was going to do, he's literally shaking up everything. He's shaking up with immigration, the economy, tariffs, trade wars, this, that. And so on top of that, it didn't help at least the crypto markets that he went ahead and launched two meme coins, one for him, one for his wife, literally sucked the liquidity out of the entire markets. And then it was the perfect storm in a negative way for everything to really start bleeding off. And so if you take a look here, and I'll pop this up on the screen, over the last 1 hour, 615 $1 million has been liquidated. 87% being longs. You can see here real-time liquidations. My God. We are at 92.2. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, we're in a complete free fall here, my friends. And so, let's go to the lower time frame. Let's see what's happening on the 30-minute here. For BTC, 91.8, 91.9 is where we're getting at right now. If we zoom out, at least on the short term, we are officially in oversold territory at 21. Now, this is on the 30-minute. Let me go back to the 1 hour. We're oversold on the 1 hour. Let's go to the 4 hour. We're oversold on the 4 hour. Let's go to the 12 hour. We're oversold on the 12 hour. And let's see, the daily should be oversold as well. Not yet, but almost. But take a look at this candle here. This daily candle, 6% candle. The last time we saw a candle this large, I believe was, you got to go pretty far back. Open to close, this is, you want to talk about strength to the downside? This is it right here, 91.4. Now I wish I didn't exit the short trade I had. It was a 20x short trade. I was really trying to scalp like 25% and kind of let it go and take some profits. But it went up to like 50, but obviously, hindsight would have kept it longer. But typically, when you do TA and you look at stuff like this and you're like, okay, you throw on some Bollinger Bands. You're like, okay, the Bollinger Band lower limit is 95.1 and we're at 92.6 and we're oversold. This is a buy signal, but there is way too much negative news, way too much negative sentiment, way too many people selling, and the stock market isn't even open yet. What's Wall Street going to do tomorrow with the ETF? What's Trump? We know, and here, let me see. There was one here. Right here. So President Trump to hold talks with Canada and Mexico tomorrow to discuss tariffs. I thought this was going to be a positive. You know, he's like, hey, all right, look, we slapped the tariff on. You guys slapped the tariff on. Let's talk about it. But apparently, the dude's digging in even more. He's digging in even deeper, and you can see Bitcoin's bouncing back to 92.7 here. Check my phone here. I think Magic just texted me. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 92.9, just a lot of, I mean, we're back up to 93. So there is some buyers stepping in. Let's zoom out to the 1 hour here. And the 1 hour, I mean, we're about 1,200. We got a $1,200 deviation from our lower Bollinger Band to where we are now. And you see the RSI has really just been kind of bouncing up and down, but we've been oversold and the momentum is very high, according to the ATR, the average true range. So I expect more downside. I expect, I mean, you take a look here at the stock market, like I mentioned, Dow future is down 550 points. Ouch. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. So we'll see what happens. But what I will tell you is this, is what people got to understand is, one, this is the only market that is open currently. Stock market is closed. Now, not everyone gets to participate in the pre-market open, as you see here on your screen. So what else do they have if they have exposure to risk assets? What other market is open on the weekends? It's crypto, it's Bitcoin. And so that's why we're seeing the sell-off. Now, I guess maybe the good news is that we've seen a huge sell-off from what, 104, 105, all the way down to 92K over the last few days. And over the weekend, tomorrow when the markets open up, we could see something to where the sellers shift to the stock markets and kind of lay off crypto a little bit, but we'll see how that plays out. You know, I don't have an 8-ball here. Unfortunately, I don't know what tomorrow's going to look like, but interesting. I'm just going to take a peek at the chat here really quick. If you're new, welcome. This isn't our traditional show. I do have a co-host and we have a producer and we have a studio in Vegas, but this is my home setup for times like this. So every time we walk into the studio, we got to get a producer to come with me. And well, sometimes you just don't have the, personnel to do it. It just happens very quickly. So we have this set up and just able to go live as whenever we want. Adam said Casper just got killed. Everything is getting killed, guys. I mean, I don't think you can point to one altcoin and say, oh, they're getting crushed. Everything's getting crushed. I'm down. I don't even want to say the number, but I'm down pretty big. So it's the name of the game. It is what it is. But guess what, guys? When the bounce back comes, whether that's when the trade war thing comes or stops or the tariffs stop or they come to an agreement, whatever, the bounce back is going to be huge. And guess what? You know, crypto sells off fairly fast and quick and deep, but the bounce back is the same, but in reverse, obviously. All right. So let's take a look. A couple of things I want to talk about. So I want to share this here. So this was interesting. This was posted by Stock Talk. Now, again, I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm an expert in tariffs. Don't know exactly, but I understand them for the most part, more than I guess the average person that tunes in to just traditional, shows or whatever. But so here's just an idea of exports of U.S. versus exports of Mexico, Canada, the countries that Trump has put a tariff on. Mexico exports to U.S. as a percentage of their GDP is 35%, compared to the U.S.'s exports to Mexico as a percentage of our GDP is 1.2%. Canada to U.S. is 22% of their GDP. U.S. to Canada is 1.5% of our GDP. And so although Canada has slapped 25% tariffs, retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., it's not nearly as impactful when you refer to GDP as it is for the other countries that we're slapping tariffs on. And so, I mentioned, and I have a really, really good video by Peter St. Ong explaining tariffs and the 1800s and how that's going to work. I'm excited to watch that with you guys. I've seen it a few times, but I want you guys to listen to it because there's very, very good info in there. But let's just go back and take a look at, as I mentioned, stock market back. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones. Let's remove our indicators here. Let's go to the daily and let's zoom out to 2018, okay? Let's go find 2018 on the stock market. Here we go. So 2018, we had a few things happen that was negative for risk on assets. And here's the beginning. And let me just drop a vertical line so we don't lose our spot. So here we go. 2018 started right there. Bam. Okay. So if you remember, 2018 is also when the Fed started hiking interest rates. Okay. QT essentially started. They were, burning assets off of their balance sheet, raising interest rates slowly. And then Trump was this whole tariff thing with Trump. Then you had the midterm elections in 2018 as well. So a lot of uncertainty and volatility. And you take a look, and I'll zoom in here. Our first big dip in the Dow was from around 26,005 to around 23,300, which is a 12% drop. And that happened in, let me get the tool that tells me how many days. So this happened from top to wick over a 10-day period, including the weekends. Over a 10-day period, it drew down 12%. Now, 12% might not seem like a lot because we're in crypto. We see that regularly, but that's pretty big for a stock market. Then you go back here, and this was another big dip here. This was back in the Christmas Eve massacre, as some call it. And this dip from top to bottom was a 16% dip in a matter of 20 days, including weekends. Then you had some other downside as well. This little dip here, not nearly as much, but around a 5% dip. Just steady market, but we were making higher highs until we saw that massive drop. And then guess what happened after, right? After this drop to end 2018, we saw the markets rally. We saw the markets rally in around 130 days. They rallied 23% and actually closed the year up. Closed the year, and let me let's see where we close the year up here as well. Let's go right here, January 1st, and let's go to January 1st, this is January 1st, 2018, 2019, we're going to go to 2020. And of course, 2020, we all know COVID happened. But the stock market gained 26% over the entire year. And so that was the following year. And then we saw the big COVID crash. So again, we've seen something like this before. Now, the only difference here is the Fed is actually cutting rates, holding it steady, but they're on the decline. But a lot of people are worried. One, they're worried that tariffs are going to bring higher prices. And what does higher prices mean? The Fed's going to start hiking interest rates again. What you guys are going to understand is markets and hedge funds, especially in the stock market, they try to front run what they think is going to happen. They usually overreact and then they overcorrect. So you see these large, wild swings, and we're seeing it in crypto. I mean, it was what? Literally only, and what, BTC is at 93.7. We were just looking at it, 5 minutes ago, it was at 91.3. And so obviously with the volatility, and then I want to share this here as well. So this is a video, and I'm going to put on my headphones here really quick. It's a video, President Trump, he got off the, at Andrews base, Joint Base Andrews, and he was asking about tariffs and how that can, what does it look like in the short term and the long term? So I'm going to throw these on. Let's take a listen together.
No, I'm not concerned. We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that. But long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country in the world. We have deficits with almost every country. Not every country, but almost. And we're going to change it. It's been unfair. That's why we owe $36 trillion. We have deficits with everybody. We help everybody. We've been helping everybody for years. And to be honest, I don't think they appreciate it. So we're going to change that. We're going to change it fast. We're going to make America great again. We have to focus on our country. We have tremendous potential if properly used, and we have to focus on our country. Tremendous deficits with China, tremendous deficits with the European Union, tremendous deficits with Mexico and Canada. And why? What's the purpose of that? Why would we have deficits? And you look at if you look at pharmaceuticals and drugs, if you look at various products, it's much cheaper in other countries. We're not going to allow that much longer. We're not going to take it.
All right. So that was him talking about, hey, we're going to feel some pain. This next one was in the White House. I believe this happened before, where he was asked, are you going to put tariffs on the European Union? Take a look at this.
Well, you're asking me a question because I'm sure you didn't hear. Am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? Do you want the truthful answer, or should I give you a political answer? Absolutely.
There you have it. He's kind of shaking up the shaking up the world, so to say. All right, let's take a peek here. All right, we got 354 viewers. Make sure to like the video, guys. And you know, Tiger Man said Trump was pissed the Fed did not cut rates. He made the decision to impact the market. This was another narrative that I saw. I'm not sure if I buy into that narrative, but would I be surprised? No. Here's the other thing with Trump. He's not going to back down. I'm sorry. The markets take a dump. Stock market's down. He's not going to reverse course and say, fine, we're not going to put tariffs on. He's not that guy. He's not going to swallow his pride and say, you know what, I was wrong. That's not going to happen. So, hey, could we see more pain? I believe we can, and I actually believe we will. But that's okay, because we know exactly why it's going down. We see which projects are holding up, which projects are going to bounce back, which projects we believe that are going to be in a great position when the markets do reverse, because it's not going to last forever. And so it's just he's what, 2 weeks in, a week and a half in, 13 days, 2 weeks in, and so you know they say it gets worse before it gets better. Now the last video I do want to show you. This is Peter St. Onge. He's a macroeconomist. This is him talking about tariffs and whether they would work in the long run. So here's the video, and make sure to listen. It's a good one.
Last week, President Trump floated something pretty awesome, eliminating the income tax and replacing it with tariffs. Will the Chinese be funding the federal government? Setting aside the odds of getting such a thing passed, let's break it down. So most mainstream economists recoil at the very thought of an import tariff. The reason is because tariffs get passed on to customers, as in Americans end up paying them. So tariffs convert to essentially a lumpy sales or consumption tax. Of course, income taxes are much worse because Americans pay those too. But the trick with taxes is that whatever you tax, you get less of. That's why, for example, they tax cigarettes. So if tariffs punish consumption, income taxes punish production, work, effort, investment, the things that make us rich. So if you'd like your country to be rich, obviously you would rather tax consumption, so tariffs, rather than taxing production. Indeed, most of Asia already does this, which is one reason they are currently wiping the floor with America. In fact, in America's economic golden age, the late 19th century, the Victorian age, the federal government was almost entirely funded by import tariffs that averaged about 30 cents on the imported dollar. Sadly, those days are gone because progressives wanted a much bigger government and correctly believed that an income tax would do the trick. Passed in 1913, the income tax started very small, as all taxes do, hitting under 1% of the population with a top rate of just 6%, all very reasonable. Then, of course, it grew like a monster, today hitting nearly 80% of Americans with a top rate of 37%. The lesson here, of course, is that not only does an income tax make you poorer, it makes the government much bigger. It's because unlike tariffs, where you can only tax so much since the tax is visible and avoidable with black markets, for income taxes, the sky is the limit, pay or go directly to jail. So how much would the federal government shrink? Well, today, America imports about $4 trillion in goods and services. If those all sported a 30% tax, that would in theory raise $1.2 trillion. Of course, toss in dynamic effects, the tariffs reducing imports, and maybe it's $1 trillion. Compare that to today's $2.8 trillion income tax, and you're looking at a roughly $2 trillion cut in government spending. That is approaching Javier Milei territory, and of course, it would free up millions of government workers to go out and find honest work flipping burgers or perhaps painting houses. Some might even learn to code. While a $2 trillion reduction in taxes is pretty exciting, the real magic is the composition. You're no longer taxing production. So mom and pop shops, factories, workshops blossom like wildflowers across the burned out Rust Belt. America's manufacturers could even finally compete on a level playing field. Toss the bloated bureaucrats as well, and you could actually reverse the tide, carrying away our industrial base to exotic lands. So SX brought to you by Unchained.com. Like all small government ideas, from ending the Fed to a flat tax.
All right. So that was interesting. Now, the one thing I will say is, and let me remove these real quick. The one thing I will say is this, is if the tariffs stay in place and the income tax stays the same and capital gains tax stays the same, and we don't get the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, then yeah, inflation is going to rear back up. Core CPI, regular CPI, Fed's probably going to start hiking interest rates again, and then we'll see another sell-off in the markets. But if the taxes get lowered, capital gains, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, that's a huge, huge benefit. And so it'll offset some of the higher prices potentially if people continue to buy those imported products from the countries that are getting those tariffs. So with that being said, this is just a little background. It looks like Bitcoin has rebounded fairly nicely here to 94.1. But I would not fall into this. This to me is a bull trap. I mean, let's take a look at the markets. The pre-markets are still down, and it's actually gone up to 1.3% on the Dow Jones, down 580 points. NASDAQ, oh my God, 2.5% pre-market. And the VIX. So here's the one thing I want to take a look at as well. I want to take a look at the DXY, the Dixie. Let's take a look here. That is the dollar against every other, well, not every other, but a basket of foreign currencies. And we'll zoom in here. Yeah, the dollar is just absolutely ripping. And anytime you can see historically, anytime the dollar rips, the Dixie rips, risk on assets bleed, including Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Speaking of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, let's take a look at some of the biggest losers of the day. Meme coin SPX is getting obliterated, down 33%. Filecoin down 32%. Caspa down to 8. Oh my God. 1 hour on Caspa. Holy shit. I did not see that. Okay. Let's take a look at a Caspa chart. That's a huge sell-off. My God. I'm curious to see what this looks like. Oh, that's a 20% deviation from our top end of our Bollinger Band. Now we're oversold on the daily. Let's see what the week looks like. Yeah. I mean, some altcoins obviously got hit harder than others. Caspa just took an absolute beating. And then you take a look. Oh, Cardano, 61 cent Cardano. Oh, that's funny. Why am I laughing? I'm not laughing because don't worry. If you're worried about your portfolio being down, mine is also very down, but that's okay. On the week, Cardano lost a very, very key support level, which was 72 cents. Now this candle still has 6 days as it just opened. So technically this could just be a nasty wick to the downside and then just recover. But on the daily, where the 60 cent is really the next big level here for ADA. Let's throw on, let's see what our 200-day EMA looks like. Yeah, we've crossed below our 200-day moving average, which is right around 72 cents. And so, I mean, yeah, and again, guys, I'm not picking on any project here, but everything is bleeding, obviously some worse than others. I'm curious on that 1 hour. Caspa, Cardano, RUNE under $10. It's funny. These are prices we never thought we'd see again, right? 61 cent Cardano, 8 cent Caspa, sub $3 Filecoin, sub $10 RUNE, $1.20 virtual protocol. Let's take a look at that chart. Because I thought $1.50 was going to hold for virtuals, but everything just tanked. I mean, you know what? Let me take a look at this first. Let me take a look at the overall altcoin market cap. It's $3.08 trillion. Let's take a look at the total two. Total two is 1.1. Total 3, which is minus ETH and Bitcoin, is sitting at $819 billion. And so, yeah. Let's take a peek at ETH here. ETH 2683. This was a nice channel here that it looked like ETH was getting ready to break out of. This was back on the 31st of January. As you can see here, we did get a breakout above and then came right back in. I was actually thinking about putting a long position on the bottom end of this. I'm happy I didn't, because obviously would have gotten completely wrecked. And so, yeah, I mean, everything is oversold. The markets are bleeding. I do want to go to the chat here really quick and see if there's any questions. Let's take a look here. See, guys, if I also want to make this a little bit of a Q&A as well. If you have a question, there's a concern you have, I'll try my best to get to as many as possible. And so what I will say is if you're in solid projects, I would not worry. And this is also why we say always have a profit-taking plan, because you never know what can happen, especially with a change of leadership. We all expected everything Trump to be positive for the markets, which I still think he will. But again, you're coming in and you're literally undoing everything from the last 4 years. And guess what? Markets and large hedge funds and large traders, they don't like that. They like certainty. They want to know, this is what I'm expecting for the next 12 months, the next 2 years, the next 4 years. Then I can get into the markets, I can get exposure because I know they're not going to do anything, or I know they're going to do this. You got this guy coming in. And here's the thing too. Bitcoin is back under 94K, by the way, 93.8 and currently dropping. What you also got to remember is this, is what I don't think Trump expected was for him to slap the tariffs on Canada, Mexico, for them to come back and say, you know what, fine, we're going to slap a tariff on you. Everyone assumed it was going to be Trump saying we're going to slap a tariff on you, and the rest, they're just going to be like, okay, yeah, we'll take it. Well, hey, guess what, man? They fought back, and they're pushing back. Will Stanley said, stocks next tomorrow. Yes, Will. And just going back to kind of what I was showing, NASDAQ down 540 points before the market even opens, which is 2.5%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a lot for a multi-trillion-dollar fund. You also have the Dow Jones down 1.3% pre-market, and the S&P down almost 2% pre-market. The VIX is going to be the VIX is going to, you're going to see a big, big uptick in the VIX tomorrow. China's January factory growth misses expectations. No one cares about that. And so, yeah, let me just go back to here. So Wick with a $5 super chat said, were you here for March 2020? Little compare and contrast. I don't know. I mean, price action wise, sure, you can make the argument that, hey, same price action, big sell off, everyone's freaking out. But I think that was a little more of an unknown. I think with tariffs, at least for the people that understand economics, macroeconomics, people can look at it and say, okay, we kind of saw this in 2018. We saw it back, in the earlier, we're like super early 1800s. And people can, kind of draw comparisons of what happened with COVID-19. No one knew. Is this going to kill 20% of the population? What are we doing? And so I think that part of it is people don't know. Magic Internet Money, what's up, Magic? How you doing, brother? I don't have the ability to bring a caller in, else I would have loved to bring you on with me to do the show. But thanks for watching, man. American Pool Guy said, favorite losers for scooping up Virtual's Sequoia. I'll be honest with you guys. Now, in my opinion, is the time to pick up the solid projects. What do I mean by that? Go down the list. Bitcoin, you can never go wrong with picking up more Bitcoin. 93.7. We believe this. Well, I believe the market's the bull market's not over. We can get at least a 2x out of this. ETH at 2,500. I know my co-host Robin's not bullish on ETH. I'm bullish on ETH. This is a gift. XRP at $2.12. This was at $3.50, and everyone was talking about, oh my God, I wish I would have gotten in. I should have bought more. Well, guys, these are your opportunities. And here's what I tell people, a little word of advice for anyone. Maybe it's your first time watching Sin City Crypto, or it's your first cycle. If nothing outside of price has changed, these are just buying opportunities, right? Nothing about Bitcoin has changed. It still produces a block every 10 minutes, still has a block size of 4 megabytes. It's still like nothing has changed with Bitcoin except for the price. And the position we're in now that benefits us is we know exactly why the price is going down. Now, if the rest of the markets were up and everything was fine, no tariffs, whatever, status quo, and Bitcoin starts dropping like this, then your alarm bells go off. but we know exactly why it's going down. Nothing's changed fundamentally with the network or the coin. And so you got to look at these, unless you're not sold on the future of cryptocurrency, Web3 and Bitcoin, then that's a different story. But if you've been in the space a while, you know these are normal. We saw in 2021, just in case you weren't around for that time, that cycle, we saw more than 5 drawdowns of 30+%. We saw drawdowns of 70% in altcoins, certain altcoins, in the heat of the bull market, and everything bounced, not everything, but majority bounced back and made new all-time highs. And so there's extraneous factors that come into play that people can't time, people don't know, and the markets hate uncertainty, and that's why you're seeing a sell-off. Solana under $200, down 13%. And again, you can go through these. Cardano at 61 cents, Chainlink at $17.30. How do you not? Avalanche at $23. Oh man, yeah. I mean, for me, so to answer your question, American Pool Guy, I think now at discount, you want to pick these projects up. You want to pick up Avalanche. You want to pick up Cardano. You want to pick up XRP. You want to pick up Bitcoin. Stellar Lumens at 30 cents. You want to pick that up. I know a lot of people were trying to get into SUI when it was at $4. It's almost 50% off, $2.79. Don't buy Litecoin. Don't buy Polkadot. Hyperliquid, all jokes aside, I think Litecoin's going to still make a new all-time high. But one that I really was waiting for a big dip on, I think AVE at $220. My God, this thing ran up to $350. Take a look at an AVE chart here. Let me scroll down and find an AVE chart. By the way, if you guys haven't liked the video, make sure to like the video. It helps with helps YouTube identify us as, hey, people like this channel. It's pretty cool. Let's send more people here. All right, so let's take a look at AVE. Let's throw on a couple of these. So AVE, yeah, I think by the time tomorrow comes around, we're going to see a big gap there that's going to get filled. And then let's throw on our cloud here, and let's go to the weekly on the cloud. So technically, for support region, at least on the very, very high time frame, we can still go down to $114, and technically, according to our Ichimoku cloud indicator here, we would still be in an uptrend. And so this pullback here, I mean, AVE again got up to over $400. You can now buy it for what, $200? And this thing moves fairly quickly. You take a look at AVE's tokenomics, only 16 million supply, 3.5 billion fully diluted market cap. Talking about the #1 decentralized finance protocol on the #1 smart contract platform in terms of liquidity, and TVL, which is Ethereum. You're talking about a platform that is integrated with Chainlink, that is integrated with the World Liberty Fund, Donald Trump. I know people don't want to hear Donald Trump right now, but Donald Trump's family's crypto project. And so these are ones, ICP at $6. And then a few of the other ones, if you do want to go a little more risky, but here's what you can do, because what we're going to see here is Bitcoin will bounce back first. And you can take a look. Bitcoin's dominance is over 60%. We'll see a big bounce back from Bitcoin, and then you'll start seeing altcoins rally again. I expect to see XRP over $3 as soon as the sentiment changes. Solana over $220 as soon as sentiment changes. And then the other ones will kind of lag a little behind, but then they'll start pumping as well. I'm still super bullish on Virtuous Protocol. Nothing has changed. I'm still bullish on the AI agents I hold. Nothing has changed. I did take profit on AI XBT when it got to around 90 cents, which ended up being the top. I didn't think it was going to be the top at that point, but I took some profits. Again, that's why we always say, take profits. You never know what can happen. Take profits, either cash them out, keep them in stables. And in times like this, where the markets are absolutely bleeding, you deploy some of that capital and you add to your positions. So yeah, hope that answers your question, my friend. I'm gonna go back here to the chat. Trump liquidated all my positions. You guys just become liquidity exit. This is nuts, says Caspa Matrix. Yeah, this is pretty nuts. Moonwell, not sure Moonwell. I do appreciate you having a live show to address this. Most on YouTube don't have the guts to do this. I don't know why. As we're just talking about what's going on. So yeah. What I also recommend too is, if because this could be very mentally challenging, right? You open up your portfolio. Let's take a round number. 3 weeks ago, it was at $100,000. Now it's at it's $40,000, $35,000. You were euphoric. You were making plans. You're telling your family. And then you see us, your portfolio down 50, 60%. It's very discouraging. And I've been there. And, sometimes it's hard not to get discouraged, even when you've been in the market for so long. But that, honestly, that's the time where you just put your phone down, whether you got a girlfriend, a wife, a husband, kids, nephews, a hobby, a show you wanted to watch, a book you wanted to read. Put your phone down, close your portfolio app, and just go, just spend some time away from your phone, spend some time away from the markets. If it's really affecting your mental health, that is what I'd recommend. And we're all human. So we've all been there. I've been there. I still get there sometimes mentally, but my mental rebound is a lot quicker because I've been through multiple cycles, and it's kind of like getting calluses on your hands, right? When you're working out, when you first start working out, you get those calluses, they really hurt, and then they harden up. And then you do it again, and it hurts, and then hardens up. And then you just get used to it. And then it's just, no big deal. And so that's what, that would be my recommendation is, don't kill yourself over it. Don't stress. Now, if you're in crappy projects and you're just, 100% of your portfolios in meme coins, let it be a learning lesson that, hey, everyone always talks about, we always talk about, we want to make the most amount of money, which is great. We do. Crypto can help you make a lot of money, but you still need to have your portfolio anchored to something like Bitcoin. You have to, because why? When altcoins are down 30% on the hour, Bitcoin is down 1% on the hour. When Caspa is down, and I'm not picking on Caspa, it's just the number one. Here, I'll show you, put my screen on. I'm not picking on Caspa, it's just a number one when I pull it up, when I sort it by 1 hour. When Caspa's down 26% on the hour, Bitcoin is only down 1%. So that's why we always say, no matter how euphoric you get or how bullish you are in a sector or a crypto or meme coins or AI agents, it doesn't matter. If you're serious about longevity and growing your portfolio and making money in this space, your portfolio needs to be anchored to something like Bitcoin. It is what it is. Altcoins will make you rich. Bitcoins will help you keep your wealth. And so that would be my one piece of advice to people is you'll make more money in the short term buying and selling altcoins, but you'll create wealth for yourself by anchoring your portfolio to Bitcoin. And if the price action tells us anything, there you go. There's a proof in the pudding right there. All right, I'm just going to take a look at the chat here. I just want to... You guys are funny. I just want to look at the chat. If you have any questions, guys, or any comments, anything, maybe something stressing you out or worrying, feel free to throw it in the chat. We don't judge here. We're a pretty welcoming community. We like, what's your opinion on tomorrow market open? Walter Brown. Walter, tomorrow, I expect the VIX to jump up significantly. I expect the markets to sell off. I expect tech to be the hardest hit. And will it bleed into crypto? Yeah, I think some of it will. I think you'll see Wall Street with the ETFs. I think they'll sell. And the rest of the markets will sell as well. And so it just is what it is. Don't buy anything until ETFs open up and sell off. Yeah, bullish on. But Mario said he's bullish on crypto in general. Me too. Me too, Mario. I'm very bullish on crypto. Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed with crypto and what the space is trying to do and the bridging between Web 2, Web 3, some of the projects. Dan says, do we have an idea of what is causing sell-off? Yes, Dan, we do have an idea. And the idea is tariffs, a trade war, Donald Trump really shaking up the global trade markets, so to say. Now he's talking about putting in tariffs on the EU. He already put a tariff on Mexico, on Canada, and Mexico and Canada didn't bend the knee. They said, fine, we'll throw tariffs on you. And so everyone is speculating and trying to extrapolate what's going to happen next. Well, okay, if there's tariffs, then it's going to raise prices. And if it raises prices, then inflation is going to go up. And inflation is going to go up. The Fed's going to start hiking rates. And the Fed starts hiking rates. We're in tough money. Again, not easy money, tough money. So people are trying to stay ahead of what they expect the market's going to happen. And so that's why we got the sell-off. Ankush Sharma said, buy the dip or wait? That's a good question. It's I don't think it's a good blanket question to ask or to answer because, if me and you were sitting down face to face or over the phone, I'd ask you a few more questions like, well, how big's your portfolio? How exposed are you? What's your income like? What's your discretionary income? Do you have any money in stables that you're ready to deploy? And so the easiest thing to do would be to DCA in. If you have $10,000, let's say, or $1,000, and you see a 15, 20% dip, put 10% in, buy 10% or 20% or 15%. But again, it would just depend on your situation. Me personally, I'm not throwing in any large chunk of money. I haven't bought any dips on this recent one yet because I personally believe there's still a little more downside. The good thing is, if there is, I have stables on the side, I'll buy. If it isn't, cool. I still have my stables and my portfolio starts to rebound. Either way, I'm good. Andrew said, we are pricing in the future strength of the dollar. Yes, that's a very good point as well. I did show a chart on the Dixie, the DXY. The dollar is gaining strength. Tiger Man said, do you have a Discord? Yes, my friend, we do have a Discord. Let me, it's in the description of our video, but let me throw it in the chat here. Let's throw it in the chat. Yeah, if you're not on a Discord, I highly recommend you join the Discord. Oh, there it is. Nightbot. Thank you, Nightbot. Appreciate it. Wow, what a bloodbath. Yes, this is definitely a bloodbath. Do you think this is market makers getting back at Trump? Said Frankenstein 0602. No, I don't. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think there's manipulation going on. But I don't think Wintermute and, all the other market makers are sitting there saying, you know what? Screw Trump. He did this. We're going to manipulate the markets. I don't think that's what's happening. I just think it's naturally investors, hedge funds, large whales. They're trying to front run what they believe is going to happen. Market opens tomorrow. Everyone's expecting a bloodbath. And they're selling off the only market that's open, which is crypto. Unlawful Scholar said, are you still on track for the cycle? I believe we still are. I believe we still are on track for the cycle. I don't think the bull market's over. I still think Bitcoin gets to multiple six figures. And I do believe that altcoins are going to rally hard. And so, going back to a comment earlier, someone said something about the pandemic. This could very well be, if let's just say tomorrow the market's open, it's an absolute bloodbath. Bitcoin goes down to $85,000. ETH is at sub 2K. I mean, our portfolios are absolutely wrecked. People are panicking. The markets, I don't know, the Dow closes down 12 to 1,500 points, 2,000. I don't know. It could very well be a COVID moment. And well, what happened during the COVID moment? Let me just pull up a Bitcoin chart here for you, my friends. Let's pull up a Bitcoin chart and let's take a look at what happened in 2020 where the market's completely tanked. Let's go to the daily. Let's get rid of our cloud and let's find 2020. And it won't be easy to not find because we're going to see a large sell-off. All right, here we go. This was back in 2020. Okay, this was March. This is when COVID first started freaking people out. This candle here. This was guys. Okay. This was a 40% candle. Okay. In one single day, this is on the daily, because of the pandemic fears, Bitcoin went down 40% in 1 year. One day, 40%. Now imagine that. Imagine the panic and the freaking out. And then look what happened afterwards. We did get to, and the following day, we did wick a little lower, $3,800. And then guess what? You bought that dip, even if you didn't buy the very bottom. Let's just say you bought at 4,500. You bought the close of the 30% candle. You would have doubled your money in less than 2 months. And let me get rid of this. And over the year, and this was obviously leading into the 2021 bull market. 34, let's call it $4,000 to 70. That's almost a 20x if you bought the fear. And so again, here, 40% candle. If we can go back in time and we can say, okay, the pandemic was happening, Bitcoin went down 40%. We know exactly why it went down. Nothing changed on the network. It's just people were going risk off. And it was a great buying opportunity. Could this be one and the same? And again, this is not nearly as bad as what we saw in 2020. But could this be something very similar to a 2020 pandemic moment? It very well could be. But again, I would caution people because I still think there's a little more downside to come. Hope I'm wrong. Could be wrong. Either way, I'm prepared for both scenarios. All right. Let's take a look here at the chat. Also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We go live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. This is kind of a last-minute stream I'm doing from my home. I know there's a lot of people wondering what the hell's going on. Obviously, tariffs, trade war, stock market, futures, pre-market is getting crushed. NASDAQ down 2.5%, S&P down 2%, Dow Jones down 1%. Let's take a look actually here. And it's gotten worse, actually. Dow down 660 points, down 1.5%, S&P down 2%, and NASDAQ is approaching 3% in the red before the markets even open. So that is what's going on. If you're wondering what the hell is going on, we did talk about the whole tariff thing, and I did mention that I believe this thing could get a lot worse. But if you're prepared for times like this, you'll make a lot of money. All right. Jason said, I hope by March we are back. I believe crypto could bounce back a lot quicker than that. But again, the unknowns of, well, what's Trump going to do? What's China going to do? Is it going to be like, okay, fine, we're going to bump it up from 25 to 50% tariffs. And then Canada comes back and say, we're going to do 50%. And so we don't know what's going to happen. What will the Treasury do? But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing you got to keep in mind as well. If we do get into a trade war, or we do, the markets start to turn, and we know how Donald Trump is. He loves to pay attention to the markets. He loves to point to the stock market and say, look how good the stock market did when I was in office. Could we see him put pressure on Jerome Powell like he did in 2018 that got him to stop hiking rates and actually start cutting rates? Could we see the same this year? And so also one more thing that I want people to keep in mind. We're officially in tax season. 66% of American taxpayers get a refund. And so will it be perfect timing? And I would probably say in the next 8 to 10 days or so, the people that as soon as they get their W-2s, they file, they'll start getting their money back. Will they see it as a buying opportunity? Maybe. But that could potentially be some fresh capital to enter the space. Or could it be a point where, hey, the whole tariff thing is settled. At least people have gotten used to it, just like they did in 2018. Now we got all this influx of money. Maybe Trump gets Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. Maybe it's not as bad as everyone thinks it is, which that's kind of where I'm leaning. But the markets are still going to do what the markets do. And then we see a big rally in the crypto markets with fresh capital, not just current capital just sloshing around. Pakasad said, David, do you think any exchanges could be in trouble? Maybe, potentially. But that's why you don't keep a majority of your money on exchanges. In fact, if you do keep any money on exchanges, you keep very, very little. Very, very little. Your current thoughts on the current FUD and news coming out of Sequoia rebranding. Okay, so good question. Sequoia, so here's what happened, okay? There was this meta of AI agents and projects naming their projects like a play on TradFi. So you had D-King was Draft King with AI in there. Sequoia, like Sequoia, the hedge fund. You also had AI16Z, A16Z, and D-King got a copyright infringement lawsuit. I believe it was a lawsuit. I don't want to misspeak here, but they either got a letter, or they were going to get something was happening, so they had to rebrand. And I think what we're seeing now, we saw AI16Z rebrand to Eliza OS, and Sequoia following suit. The other FUD was Anand Iyer, AI. The handle is AI on X. Big guy in AI, big guy in Web3. He had removed Sequoia from his profile, so people assume that, hey, he left the project. Oh my God, they haven't posted in 4 days. What's going on? And then they came out with that post at the rebranding. To me, I really don't care. I don't think it's going to benefit. It's not like they're listed on exchanges and now they got to go rebrand. And so nothing for me has changed with Sequoia. I haven't bought any more, but I haven't sold anything either. So that's what happened with Sequoia. What do you think about ICP? Again, and nothing has changed. It's just the price. The price went from $10 to $6. Has anything changed fundamentally on ICP? No. So, yeah. People are going to hodl their money because they are afraid of food prices going through the roof. Doubt they will buy crypto. T, you got a good point, T. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're wrong. Who knows? But I don't know. Again, I think the markets are overreacting. I think this shakeup we see, once the markets and people figure out what's going on and how to maneuver it, I think we'll see a big bounce back in crypto and the stock market. What's your choice of cold storage wallets? Johnny, my favorite cold storage wallet is hands down Tangem. One thing I love about Tangem is it's on your phone. You don't need a seed phrase. It's never been hacked. I think 3 million wallets never been hacked. And the cool thing too is I can swap in and out of crypto. So I can swap like Bitcoin to Solana or Cardano to Caspa without having to send it to an exchange and create a taxable event. And the fees are fairly competitive. So I love Tangem. I moved everything off my ledger and into my Tangem. Emergency rate cuts incoming? I don't think so. I think that would be a mistake. So yeah. All right, guys, I think that'll do it for the show today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, be prepared for a potential sell-off tomorrow as the markets open. But again, just keep in mind, nothing has changed. We know exactly why the markets are going down. I wouldn't freak out, wouldn't panic. The number you're seeing on your portfolio for your coins, that number, unless you're in absolute shit coins, it'll bounce back. Nothing has fundamentally changed. So I wouldn't freak out. Go outside, as people say, touch some grass, pick up a book, read. Speaking of books, if you haven't bought an almanac, buy an almanac. There's only, I think, 80 left out of the first 500 run, and we're not doing any more runs on the first edition unless there's, a massive influx. But if you haven't ordered one, order one. New orders ship immediately. So if you order an almanac tonight, they'll ship by tomorrow. And so just ask anyone on X who's received one. The quality, the content, it is top notch. So if you haven't ordered one and you want to support the channel and some really, really good reading material in there, definitely go buy one. It's only $50. All right. Love you guys so much. Keep your heads up, my friends. Again, remember, nothing has changed. Everything's going to be great. I promise. And we'll be back tomorrow in studio at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you guys.